When it comes to hiring, don't go searching for the one. Just meet your match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/match. Just go to Indeed.com/match right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/match. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Listening on Audible helps your imagination soar. Whether you listen to stories, motivation, expert advice, any genre you love, Audible makes it easy to be inspired and entertained as part of your everyday routine. Listening can lead to positive change in your mood, your habits, and ultimately, your overall well-being. As an Audible member, you choose one title a month to keep from their ever-growing catalog. Explore themes of friendship, loss, and hope with Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. It's a unique story about an otherworldly friendship between a widow and a giant Pacific octopus. New members can try Audible free for 30 days. Visit audible.com/imagine or text IMAGINE to 500-500. That's audible.com/imagine or text IMAGINE to 500-500.
This is Full Change with Tom Laidlaw.
Well, Tom, how are you? We had a little break from Full Change. We had our first week off in our 105 episode history. So
it was summertime, right? Summertime.
How you feeling? You refreshed? Feeling good?
I am, yes. You know what I'm learning too? We talked about like I sometimes I get doing too much stuff, too much social media stuff, and I realize, okay, I'm slow.
Yes, good idea. Because this is you're the driver of this bus, not anybody else.
Yeah, I know. Because it's funny, I go from when I first started this stuff, I didn't know what I was doing at all on social media. So
yeah, now you're doing way too much of social media, but we got a lot to talk about because it's July 1st as we tape this, and it's the Stanley Cup is over. Florida prevailed in Game 7, as they were probably the better team overall. They had it right, and then it's free agent frenzy day today, so a lot going on. What are the Rangers going to do?
Free agent frenzy, plus the guys that like teams are asking for their 15-team list and they don't want to play for, like Truba here in New York. That's a big story. So, yeah, it's a big day for hockey. It used to be a huge day. There was a ton of trades. Like, there was hundreds of trades. It's kind of slowed down that way. There's more trades at the draft and everything. But it's still an interesting day to see because it really shaped teams a lot. They're somewhat more limited because of the cap dollars and everything, but it's still a fun day.
But you didn't really have this when you played, did you? You had the trade deadline, but you didn't have a free agent date.
No, we did not have free agent day. No. Yeah, I don't think even it was a free agents like that. Yeah, it was a whole different structure back then, but yeah.
But some crazy things. Sorry.
Trade deadline day was an interesting day, especially if you're on a team like I was with the Rangers, where I typically didn't worry about getting traded. Ultimately, the day I did get traded, you just feel it in the air. You know something's going on. So it's funny because it's a fun day for fans and everything, but the guys who are getting traded are like they go back to you go back to the family and say to the wife, "Listen, we got to move from New York to L.A."
Yeah.
So it's
great news, Tom. The Rangers got Marcel Dion. Oh, bad news, Tom. They got him for you.
I know. I've told that story to a few people where Kelly Miller was on. And people called him up and said, "We got good news and bad news."
Yeah.
And, imagine how you'd feel.
You got Bobby Carpenter, 50-goal scorer. Oh, that's great. Bad news is you're not going to be around for it. So,
and I love Phil to death, but like, imagine what was he thinking to structure it that way? Like, he's not thinking about what Kelly's going to go through.
He was a lot like Milbury in the fact that he was just like a riverboat gambler. With the crazy thing is it's people's lives. It's just like dealing with people. But back to present day, Rangers signed Sam Carrick from Edmonton. He's a center. I think he'll be a fourth-line center. Maybe they have a third-line center. But that's really the only move so far. Rumblings are that they're going to trade Trouba.
Yeah. I think they're more than rumblings. Because once you go, apparently when Larry Brooks, I read his story today in the Post, and he was saying that Trouba clearly was upset. And I don't blame him. You're the captain of the team. He had a broken ankle and still played in the playoffs and the whole bit. So I think it's one of those things that when they first come to you and say, "Listen, we're going to trade you." Because once you start that process, it's really hard to come back from that process at that point. Because now he's insulted a little bit. He can do it. He's a professional, but again,
it's hard to walk that one back.
Yeah, it really is. So he will get traded. Some people tied it to maybe like trying to get Kane, but Kane signed in Detroit.
Kane signed in Detroit for a year. Two other targets, Jonathan Marchessault and Steve Stamkos, both signed in Nashville, which is
they did. Oh, yeah, that's done already. Oh, wow.
And then sorry, go ahead.
Well, the other name that popped up was Oliver Ekman Larsson. That just one of the kids. Like, if I was the Rangers, I'd go after him.
I would do. Yeah, I would too.
Yeah, especially if you trade Trouba, you got to replace that. But again, they got to be careful. That one of the reasons they're trading Trouba is cap dollars. So if Larsson, if he wants a whole lot, you really can't.
No, you can't follow. You can't. It's like they say in golf: don't follow a bad shot with a dumb shot. So yes, Trouba gave heart and soul, and he worked hard, but that was a bad contract. It's too high. It's too long.
But again, he was a free agent, wasn't he?
Yes.
Okay, so
no, actually, he was a trade, like a sign and trade, basically. He traded for Neil Pionk, but then they signed him.
Right. Yeah. I see why people say it was a bad dollars, but I just think, listen, he didn't have a good year last year. There's no question. But there's the 2 years prior to that, and he had really 2 good years. He became the captain of the team.
Yeah.
So again, it's easy to talk about that because your most recent memory of him is not a good memory.
No, and on the depth chart, he's now on the third pair, and he's getting $8 million a year. Yeah, I've said this before, but I was on a project with PK Subban in California when Trouba signed, and right off the bat, he was like, "Wow, that's too big of a contract. He's not that good." Now, say what you will about PK.
Knows about that because
yes, he does. Yes, he does firsthand. But he, as an analyst, I think he was spot on that one. I mean, it was a huge number.
I don't agree.
You don't.
I think when he first came in, Trouba had a bad year because I thought he tried to do too much, but then he had 2 years where he was dominant, clean hits, leader of the team.
Yeah.
Again, last year, I thought he tried to do too much. I still think he's a good player. He's one of those guys that I hope if he goes to Detroit or wherever it is, I hope he goes there and does well. Maybe he will more because it'll be he didn't sign the contract with Detroit, right? It's like there's some pressure there.
Yep.
Like we had the Bunievis on, who's good friends with him.
Audio Truvis, yep.
Yeah, he talked about what a great guy he was. So be interesting. Only got Stamkos and
Marchessault went to and Gensel signed for big numbers with Tampa, who traded Sergachev. They're
so
to Utah.
So Gensel, so Tampa traded for his rights just for like 24 hours,
and then signed him, and then we're able to sign him.
They must have known that they would be able to get him signed. What did who's the other one that you mentioned there? There's Stamkos and
Marchessault from Vegas, yeah.
And then who else?
Gensel. Those are some of the big ones. The Rangers got Sam Carrick, but
right.
That's so far what's come through.
So what did Stamkos get?
He got, believe he got, just checking the notes here, I believe Stamkos got, Gensel got 7 years, $9 million per. That's crazy.
And that was with who against Tampa? That's right. Okay.
Montour signed with Seattle.
Ooh.
And he got 7 years, $50 million. This is crazy.
The Montour that's in Florida?
Yeah, Brandon Montour, yeah. And then Stamkos got 4 years, $8 million per at 36 years old.
That's why he wouldn't have signed with the Rangers.
No chance. $8 million for 4 years for a guy who's in his mid to late 30s. That's crazy money.
See, that's a bad. I hate to say it. Barry Trotz is a fantastic person, but this is kind of his first big foray into free agency as a general manager down there in Nashville. He overpaid for Stamkos. I don't think the reason is not that he's not a good player, but nobody else was going to give him that kind of money.
Yeah, my buddy Scott Morrison down in Texas and Houston is sending me all these updates over text right now. And the Rangers their home opener is against the Utah Hockey Club on October 12th. So breaking news all over the place. No, at the Garden. That's the home opener.
They'll need a bunch of seats there. All the wives coming in. All those 7 wives and Scott.
I don't think polygamy is it legal in Utah. I don't know.
Yes, we looked it up. It was just made like 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay, well, I don't.
I looked that up right away. It's just anything.
Of course you did. So there's a ton going on in the NHL, man. It's a crazy day for free agency.
And we've had some quiet days in the past few years on free agency day.
Yeah, but this one is not. This is not quiet. And luckily, the Rangers have not broken the bank or done anything.
And they won't.
They're stupid.
They won't because they've looked down the road. Shesterkin's got to get signed. You know, it's interesting. Larry Brooks wrote an article too. Like, is he really worth $12 million? And I'm assuming that's the number he's going to go for because that's Panarin's making 11.5 or whatever. And I would too if I was his agent. He'd have to go for that.
Yep, I agree. Oh, and here's a trade. We have Jacob Chikrin, whose father Jeff we had on was traded to the Washington Capitals
from Ottawa. Right, he was in Ottawa.
From Ottawa. Yep, he was traded for Nick Jensen as a decent defenseman and 3rd round pick. Wow. So this is fast and furious.
Washington's done a lot. Pierre-Luc Dubois. They got different goaltending, right? They changed the goaltending. Right?
Yeah, but how many times is that? Well, Charlie Lindgren, I think is. Oh no, Devils made a big trade. They got they have their goaltender, but that was earlier.
Yep.
Wow. Another one. Chris Tanev signed a 6-year, $27 million deal with the Leafs.
Oh, he did with the Leafs.
Crazy.
And then the other thing is, a lot of people talk about Marner getting traded from Toronto as well.
I think he's got to be the odd man. And didn't they buy out Tavares, or they're talking about buying out Tavares? They signed Max Domi.
Somebody else, Skinner from Buffalo, got bought out.
He did get bought out. Yep. Max Domi got signed to a 4-year deal with them. Kane
was a pretty reasonable deal too. Like, wasn't it like $4 million?
Domi wasn't bad. Sam Reinhart got a huge ticket from the Panthers. He got 8 years.
Oh,
so,
oh man.
Yeah,
but that happens every year when you look at these contracts. You always go, "Oh man, that's not little." But that's the way the NHL is now.
But they're bad contracts, though. Half of these guys are going to get bought out.
Well, again, if the guy's a free agent, sometimes people forget so Stamkos, for example. I think that's too much money, but part of the cost of signing him is the acquisition cost. So is he really, what was it, $8 million a year?
Yeah, $8 million a year.
Yeah, he's not really an $8 million a year player. He may be like a $6 million a year, but you have to pay that extra money to get him as a player because he's a free agent. That's the logic, anyways.
Yeah, I guess I get it, but you mentioned Shesterkin in the Brooks article, and it's true. Like, can you give a goalie $12 million of your cap? Cap's paying 92. I think they said that's 14% of the cap. That's a lot for a goaltender.
Okay, so let's look at it this way then. So if you don't have Shesterkin, where would the team be this past season?
Great question. They wouldn't be as good as they were, but you look at Edmonton, who won with, who got as far as they did with Skinner.
So that's a good point. That's a very good example. Like, they still made it to the finals, one game away from winning it. Yep. Skinner, who arguably is, like, what is he, a $6 million goaltender? If that,
I don't even know. And the Devils beat the Rangers with Akira Schmid in net, who just got traded as well. So
and the Rangers have, for the short term, they have Quick, who can still play. He showed he can still play. Now he's old, so he's maybe got a year or two left.
Yeah, he's 38 or so.
And like Larry brought up the other point too, he says, do you run the risk of not getting Shesterkin signed now and let it go throughout the season? Then you lose him for nothing at the end of the year.
Right. But as a player, Tom, this is, you're and an agent for you.
But hold on, the only thing I'd add there though is that yes, you may lose the player, but if you have a lot of, let's say he wants 12 and you're going to give him 11, he won't accept the 11. Right. You're not going to spend $11 million on one player. If he then walks away, that $11 million, we really haven't lost. It's not nothing. Now you can spend money on other players, that $11 million. You may get 2 or 3 good players for that $11 million. Which would mean it's one player for $11 million.
Yep.
So,
but the question is though, like, and I was going to ask you, as an agent and as a player, do you look at the salary cap now and say, God, I can't hose them because I want to win, or do you say I got to get what I got to get?
I got to get what I got to get.
Really?
Yeah. Because, you look at it that, it's like McDavid, for example. He gave back a little bit, I think, in the big contract he signed, but not a whole lot.
And Crosby signed for 8-7 every year.
Yeah. Yeah, he could have. But again, it's a tough one. But again, he's going to get taken care of. I think it's unique because he's Sidney Crosby. He's going to stay in Pittsburgh. They're talking about signing him to a new contract right now. So, yeah.
But, I mean, do you do what's good for the team? Some guys do give back. Some guys don't, and I get it. I understand both parts of it. I understand, look, this is my life, and I need to make this money. But
who gives back? Who isn't giving back so the team can?
People have not giving back. Well, Gretzky famously said, don't give me $4 million. Spend $1 million on free agents. So that does happen.
When you win Gretzky, you're going to make money.
Right. And is Igor Shesterkin going to have opportunities to do commercials? Probably not. Is he going to have No.
Yeah. And again, there's a lot of pressure from the Players Association to get the max dollars because the next guy down the road, you give up, Shesterkin gives up, say you get 12 and he only takes 10, let's say. Yep. Well, the guy that's behind him that could have got 10 is now going to get 8 or 9.
Yeah, no, I get it. So, I get it. But also, people talk about winning, how important winning is, So,
but then you say, well, it's not my job to put together a team that wins. That's the general manager's job.
But if I'm taking up 14% of the contract, that was the salary cap. What other contracts are we going to be able to have? It's an interesting question,
Do your job, general manager. You're telling me to do my job, stop the puck. Right?
Oh, there you go.
You're the general manager. You do your job.
Clearly on the player's side, for sure.
Forever.
But today, speaking of, we got a good team player who had a solid NHL career. We have a defenseman who came out of Eden Prairie, Minnesota, a hockey factory. We're going to have Andrew Alberts on today, and it should be a great interview.
Yeah, I love these shows where I don't know the guy at all, and now we get to meet him and everything. I've heard really good stuff about him, so I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, this should be good. Andrew Alberts coming up. All right, Tom, we got a great show today. We have a guest from the hockey hotbed of Eden Prairie, Minnesota. He played at BC, so now he's a Boston guy, and he played for the Bruins and for the Canucks, among other teams. Today we have on a big hulking defenseman, Andrew Alberts.
I like that. Great to meet you. I've seen you play quite a few times.
Thanks. I'm not sure about hulking anymore. I don't like that adjective anymore. I'm trying to slim down,
Yeah. When you play, you want to be called Hulk, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Definitely. The first question I had to ask you, you're a Minnesota kid that went to Boston College. Was there any temptation to go to the Gophers? Or?
Yeah, so guys, I grew up watching my uncle. So actually, Tom, you may know him. The last name's Rothstein. Tom Rothstein played for the Gophers back in.
Yeah, I remember him.
I want to say late 80s.
Yeah.
So Tom Rothstein played the Gophers, so I want to be a Gopher. He's my uncle, and I also had another uncle play up at UMD. Johnny Rothstein and then Billy Rothstein, another uncle, played in Notre Dame. So I kind of followed these guys around a lot, but I want to be, every kid wants to be a Gopher from Minnesota. And so I grew up watching the Gophers. That's where I wanted to go. But BC was kind of the only school that showed interest in me. And so that's where I chose to go.
Oh, really? So when my senior year of college in Northern Michigan, we were ranked number 1 in the country, and we had to go play at Minnesota to go to the national championship. So we went into the play there. Brad Butow was coaching. Remember Brad Butow? Remember him?
No, I don't know.
Yeah, this is late 80s.
Yeah.
That was the old, I think, did they still have the old arena there? What was Mariucci Arena?
So Mariucci was there. And so that's like Herbie Brooks was coaching there. And then Doug Woog, I think, came in.
Yep. Yeah.
Took him for a ride for, probably 15, 20 years is my guess. But no, so they had old Mariucci, which I used to go watch games there. And then the new Mariucci is beautiful.
So I said, yeah. So we played the old Mariucci. That was an intimidating building, too. They packed that place all the time. Right?
Yeah, it had like the roof over the goaltender at the far end, right?
Yeah.
Very, very different. Yeah. That was an old
So was it the basketball court on the other side? Is that what it was? The basketball? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Those are the old barns that you missed, right?
I was terrible. Brad Butow, So Brad Butow ended up being a good friend of mine when I got the age of business. He had a speech impediment. And it's like he talked like this Brad Butow. So, of course, we were playing against him. Like a stupid idiot, I had to go pick on him, go by the bench. Like, hey, Brad, pick the marbles out of your mouth. So then...
What a good guy.
Oh, I know. And then I've been friends with him after, and we laughed about it afterwards. So we were lucky because that was the year they won the gold medal. So Herb wasn't there, Ramsey, all the guys that were from Minnesota. So we got to play the kind of leftovers, and we won.
Oh, gotcha.
So again, okay, so you grew up in Eden Prairie, Minnesota. Beautiful country. That's beautiful there.
Yeah. I looked at it. I mean, looking back now, it's beautiful place. Love growing up there. And looking back now, the hockey structure that they still hold true today, with town hockey all the way up. Like it's kind of like the last place you can go to have town hockey run you all the way up into high school, which is such an important part of hockey in Minnesota, as you guys probably know, with the high school hockey tournament and whatnot. So very different from the rest of the U.S. here, especially out east here. I'm on Boston now, and club hockey kind of takes the scene over. So I was lucky to play in a great environment and grew up skating on the ponds every winter. So that's kind of where I hold my craft.
So the fans are listening. It is a unique state, right? Because the University of Minnesota, in Minnesota, like high school hockey becomes the big thing. You don't go off and play against junior teams and everything. It's more. Do they even have junior teams there?
Yeah, so junior teams and club teams are starting to creep in a little bit, with the Minnesota Made, and there are junior teams where kids will go play that early fall, and then they'll go play the high school season, and they'll finish up down with the junior team. But it's always, those kids always come back and they play that high school year because it is such good hockey, right? And you're playing, it's awesome when you're playing for your school, right? Yeah. And big crowds, and the state tournament's always at the XL, so it's pretty cool to sell that place out for a high school hockey game.
Do they do split season out there, or is that they do?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at it. Yeah, it's split season. Well, they'll go play before and then after, but most of those kids usually come back and play that chunk of the season, that high school season.
So just be clear, what people understand. Split season means so you're playing for the high school team first, or
club first,
then the high school team in the middle of the year, and then back to the club team.
Yep. Yeah.
And what's it like there? There's a lot of kids in a lot of parts of the country that are moving around from team to team. That wasn't the way it was back then for you, right? I mean, you stayed for that club team.
Yeah, we stay for just the regular town hockey, right? So I grew up playing town hockey, and I had parents. My dad never played a lick of hockey. Didn't think about it. And my mom came from a hockey family where three of her brothers played D1 hockey, who I mentioned earlier in the show, and so she came from a big hockey family. They grew up in northern Minnesota, in the Iron Range, Grand Rapids, Minnesota. So hockey was a big thing. But so when my mom's family's a hockey family, and my dad didn't know a thing about it. He'd give me his input as an athlete and as a competitor and whatnot. He played basketball, baseball, and golf. But looking back, it was kind of like a blessing. Like I didn't have a dad that was dragging me around from rink to rink and telling me to do this and skate hard. And, it was just kind of like, hey, if you like it, like go do it. And I think the thing is like, you want kids to create the passion, right? You don't want the parents to create the passion for the kid or force the passion in them. You want them to find something they like and keep working towards a goal to create the passion that they love, and then go on and keep playing. And so I was kind of lucky in that aspect that my parents kind of didn't drive it down into me, and I'd skate maybe once at the end of August. But other than that, summer was for baseball and golf, man. Yeah. So
that is the way to do it, right? You're so lucky to have a father like that. I mean, obviously he loved you very much. He wanted you to do well, but he didn't know the game. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Now, were you one of the top players when you were a kid?
No, it's you know what? I was thinking back. Somebody asked me a question last week. The same question. I was like, I don't think I've ever been the best player at any team I ever played on. And I grew up playing B hockey in Minnesota, and I played B hockey. Actually, a pretty good story here as I kind of worked my way up through Minnesota high schools. I played B hockey all the way through. Not always the biggest kid, definitely wasn't the fastest kid. Got into, wanted to play high school hockey. That was every kid's dream, right? You go as a kid, you go to watch the high school team play. Like that's like the big thing in town. And so as I was going up, I played, Pee Wee Bs, Bantam B1s, and then you tried for high school. And I remember going to try out for JV as a sophomore, and they're like, hey, 2 days later, they got out of the varsity tryout, go to the JV tryout, spend a day there, and they're like, they pull you in and they said, hey, sorry, Andrew, your hockey career is over. You're not going to play high school hockey. And that was kind of like, I was like, holy smokes, because all my buddies are still on JV and playing, and I'm wondering why I'm left out. And, for a coach to say, hey, we appreciate you coming out, but your hockey career is over. Like, it was devastating to me, right? Yeah. And so I took it pretty hard, and I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'll go play junior gold, and I'll come back the next year. So I went to junior gold tryouts. And back then, you guys know this, they post the lineup or the team at the building on the glass, right? So you go to tryouts for 2 days, go check the building, got cut from that team. I'm like, what's going on? So I try out for midget days, go to midget day tryout, go back the next day, for sure made this team, right? No, name's on the list again. So I played house hockey my sophomore year of high school. Wow. Lowest I could possibly play. And it ended up being like the best thing that ever happened to me because I got to play with a couple buddies that were seniors in high school. So in hockey, it's every 2 years you move up, right? And so these guys were a couple years older. They grew up in my neighborhood. We were buddies. I never had to play with them because we were a couple years apart. So I got to be on their team. And it was more like no pressure from the coaches, from parents, from fans. It's just, it's house hockey. Get out there and just chase the puck around, have a good time, right? So I had a blast, and it was a great year for me just to get back to having fun hockey. And the next year, I transferred schools to Benilde St. Margaret's just for academics because I think it helped me out in college. And that's where I met Jack Blatherwick and Ken Pauley. And
Jack Blatherwick, I love it.
You know that name?
Yeah. Brooks guy, that's Herbie's guy.
Herbie's guy, yeah, absolutely. And so I met them, and they changed the whole course of my life and career for sure.
Wow, that's a great story. I love that stuff.
I ran into Jack, and Jack saw me play, and he's like, "You're gonna play varsity," and I just started laughing. I said, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "No, you can't." He was, "You're the worst skater I've ever seen. I can fix that."
Yeah, did you see Tom skate? Did you see Tom skate at all?
He did. Yeah, he actually did see me by then. Yeah.
And so for those who don't know, Jack Blatherwick is before his time. He was over speed training, off ice training, all about building strength, explosiveness to help your on ice skate ability and power. And so I was beyond fortunate to run into Jack, and he took me under his wing and said, "If you want to be an NHLer, stick with me." And that's what I did for my whole career.
Really? So up to that point, were you dreaming of playing in the NHL, or was it just high school hockey?
No, I mean, to tell you the truth, like as a kid, you just want to play high school hockey, right? It's like, I just want to play against. Like, you think they're the pros back then, right? And then the Stars left Minnesota when I was 10, so all I really had was high school and the Gophers, right? And so I grew up watching, the high school team and the Gophers, and then my whole goal was like, I just got to get to college so that my parents don't have to pay the tuition. My whole goal, I was like, how can I get to college where my parents aren't paying the fee? And that was my goal. And as a kid, do you want to play in the NHL? Yeah, you do, but you never think it's a reality. Right. And so, yeah, that was my goal. I was like, all right, well, how do I get to college? And how do I not have my parents pay for it? And it started with Benilde and Jack believing in me and putting in hours and hours of working my ass off to get where I had to be.
So you ultimately obviously made it to senior year in high school, working with Jack during the summer.
Yeah, so junior year, I went from house hockey my sophomore year. I transferred to Benilde St. Margaret's, and he put me on the varsity team, which I probably shouldn't have been on. We only played 4D. So he put me up there. I was in no position to succeed. We still had a good team. And then after that season, he asked me straight out, do you want to play in the NHL?
This is Jack.
Yeah, this is Jack Butler. I'm like, well, yeah, I want to play in the NHL. And I knew Jack's resume from working with Herbie. He was with Calgary at that point, but he had worked with the USA teams, the Rangers, the Caps for a number of years. And so I'm like, this guy knows what it takes to get there. He knows that I have the drive to be there, and he's got the magic powder, whatever it is. So whatever he says, I'm going to do. And so that's what I did. And so he made me do squats. So every 7th hour, the hockey players had 7th hour off. So I would do squats for 45 minutes every day till the end of school. And then in the summer, I was there 6 days a week working out with him, trying to get better for that senior year. And that just continued on throughout my whole career.
That's a cool story. I love that. So people who don't know, so my first year in the league, Herbie was he was over in Switzerland or something, Coach Afton. They'd won the gold medal. And then he came in my second year. And we were used to the old school coaches where it's like, bag skates up and down, all the stuff. And Jack came in and sat down. Jack's got the whole season planned out. So it's not like if Herbie's mad, he doesn't bag skate. So you skate what Jack says about skate. And Jack wasn't all about like beating us up. It was more strategic, right? Like you're talking. Yeah. So we loved Jack. It's like, because it felt like, he really wasn't making us work any harder, but he was making us better players. So, and mentally he was good, like you said too. And I could see him saying this to you where, if you want to play in the NHL, I'll get you to the NHL. That's a great story. I love that.
Yeah, Cardiac Jack is what we called him.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Yeah. And he's a slow talking guy too. He's really calm and you get Herbie screaming all the time and everything. There's Jack like, calm down. So yeah, we loved it.
It all came down to science and numbers and reps, and he just tried to maximize and make you as efficient as possible. And that was the difference between bagging a guy for 45 minutes or making him do interval spurts to make him faster and quicker.
So you're a pretty good student, like you wanted to get to college and have your parents not pay for it. You're good in school.
I got by. I got by. I was like 3.0 average. Nothing crazy. I was okay. I didn't love it. Looking back now, it's like, well, yeah, I wish I would have put more time into it, right? But at that point, you're just trying to get by and you want to play hockey.
So you wanted to play in the NHL. You weren't really dreaming of it. So you went to college. Was there a goal you had from college, like a job that you wanted to get into?
No, I really I didn't have much of a plan, guys.
Okay.
The beauty is like when you start having success in hockey, and you guys see this, it's like you have success in hockey. We go, well, how far can I go? Yeah. And then somebody says, well, you're pretty good. Well, all right, well, let's keep going here and see where it takes me, right? So when I get to BC, I was lucky enough to get a scholarship. It was great. I more or less paid for college. I was happy. I didn't have my parents pay for it. Yeah, so I went to BC, and then it's like, all right, well, I'm going to Boston College. I'm going to play for the team that just won the national championship. Jerry York's my coach.
That's right.
I've got Scott Pollock and Mike Cavanaugh as assistants. Let's make the most of this. Like, dude, let's just keep going. I got drafted that summer by the Bruins, so obviously people believe in me. Right. And then it was just like, all right, well, you tell me to jump, I'll ask how high, and then it just took off. And I was a late bloomer, so I was 5'8". My sophomore year, I was 6'3", $160 my junior year, and so I was still growing, filling out, and getting bigger. And so BC was a perfect place for me to develop because I was a late developer. I had those extra 4 years before I went to the NHL to develop and get bigger and stronger. So,
who else was on that team in BC?
So our class, we had Ryan Shannon played with the Ducks for a little bit, up in Vancouver for a little bit. Dave Spina played in Europe for 8 or 9 years. Ryan Murphy bounced around the AHL for quite a bit. But then like Brian Boyle came in. Great player, had a hell of a career. Corey Schneider, good friend of mine, came in, took over the goaltending role. And the guys above me, the Ben Eves, Patrick Eves, Steve Gianta, those type of guys came in. Peter Harrell, Mike Brennan. So we had SAC team, had great teams, never ended up winning the championship, but we had some really good years.
Let me ask you this more a current question. Are you familiar with the NIL, the players getting paid money, and also the portal where they're changing programs? What do you think of that stuff?
You know what? I love it in the fact that players get an opportunity and a say to play, to decide where they're going to play. So if you're a third line guy and you're not getting ice time and you know you need ice time, you want to keep playing, you have a chance to go play somewhere else. But I think what you do is you lose a lot of the culture, right? Yeah. So you think of like, I came into BC, it's like, all right, well, I better do what the older guys are doing and fit in and work my ass off and do everything that I need to do to get in the lineup. And And that's like the character and culture that's created by the older guys. It's passed down to the younger guys. So if you're losing these guys, it's hard to keep that culture going. So now I think it more relies on the coach. You know, talking to Brownie over at BC, he's like, unless we're not going to bring in young guys unless they're studs, right? Because I can get a 22, 23-year-old that's been around for 2 or 3 years that knows all the systems and can play, you know, at a higher level than a 17 or 18-year-old freshman coming in. So I think it's changed the landscape a lot. And then also, like, you know, it's more for football players, but if they're selling tickets and jerseys, like, they should get a piece of that, right?
Yeah. No, I agree with that, definitely. There's no question. I guess the only problem is if a smaller school can pay a guy like $10,000 and a bigger school pays him $25,000.
Exactly.
So are you making the right decision for your future? And then, like you, one of the greatest things that ever happened in my life is playing that 4 years of college and moving up with the guys and all the memories and all the things you go with. But yeah, you're right. You got, like, is there that guy that's not getting played, so the coach doesn't like him or whatever? There's, you know, then it gives him a chance to move someplace else. But, it's different.
Yeah, a lot of it's opportunity and luck. It's are you healthy and is there opportunity? And you know, like, if I look at my pro career, like, I played for the Bruins, who we had tons of injuries my rookie year, and we were very good. Perfect recipe for a young guy to come up, right? Or if you jump into a team where, you know, a top level team, like, you're going to be stuck behind the sixth defenseman trying to fit in. Exactly. So,
what round you were drafted in by the Bruins?
I was 6th round, 179th pick.
Oh, there you go, Tom.
I was 6th round myself. You and I got a lot of similarities. So, like, we were late bloomers. Yeah.
I was 19 though, so I got passed over my whole first year. They could have drafted me.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So
did you go to the draft?
No, I was up in my cabin because I was 18, did get drafted, right. And then I'm 19. I'm like, at this point, I don't even care. Like, I knew I was going back to juniors or no, I just finished juniors, going to BC, and then I got drafted, and I'm like, oh, all right, well, it's great because Boston's in town. They can come see me play, so it actually worked out being great. But as a 6th round pick, I wasn't projected to go high, so nobody really expected much out of me.
So you were drafted before you went to college? Yeah,
well, I graduated high school. I was 18, and I played 2 years of juniors, and then I got my scholarship to BC. Gotcha. So I played USHL at Waterloo for 2 years.
So did the Bruins really come and talk to you a lot too, or no?
Never. I talked to him one time, and that was Jeff Gordon showed up the summer they drafted me to hand me my draft bag and my jersey, and he said, "Hey, we'll be watching." And that was the only time I talked to him until after my senior year. We lost in the regional, and then they called a week later to see if I wanted to go down and play in Providence.
Isn't it weird, like the old times? I was the same way. They drafted me. I had to call them at one point, say, "What do you want me to do?" And they said, "Shut up and get back up there and play hockey."
Yeah. Well, just think how much, like, time and effort you're putting into these players now, like, right? So you want to have as many touch points as you can. So it's really smart, and I can see why you look at Toronto. They've got so many, you know, staff in their development roles, you know, and teams. I think that's what teams are starting to do now. So.
Yeah, no kidding. It's nice to be like drafting players and think they're good players, but you really have to help them develop too, right? Because again, we're young kids. We're stupid. We don't know what we're doing. Like anything, like diet, workouts, and all that stuff.
Exactly.
Worried about letting someone else pick out the perfect avocado for your perfect impress them on the third date guacamole? Well, good thing Instacart shoppers are as picky as you are. They find ripe avocados like it's their guac on the line. They are milk expiration date detectives. They bag eggs like the 12 precious pieces of cargo they are. So let Instacart shoppers overthink your groceries so that you can overthink what you'll wear on that third date. Download the Instacart app today to get free delivery on your first 3 orders, while supplies last. Minimum $10 per order. Additional terms apply.
This podcast is brought to you by eHarmony, the dating app to find someone you can be yourself with. Why doesn't eHarmony allow copy and paste in first messages? Because you are unique, and your conversations should reflect that. eHarmony wants you to find someone who will get you. How are you going to know who gets you if people send you the same generic conversation starters they message everyone else? Conversations that actually help you get to know each other. Imagine that. Get who gets you on eHarmony. Sign up today.
Okay, so then they contacted you in your senior year, and then they decided you were a contract to go to Providence?
Yeah, so that 405 was a lockout year. So I finished my junior year and is All-American, and so my agent's like, yeah, we'll see what happens if they call. No call. And then there's no NHL the next year. So I'm like, oh, I'm definitely going back to BC. I finished my degree. I'll have that. And then we'll see what happens with the lockout. And so played the next year, had a great year. We lost in the regional. NHL was still not in session. AHL was a great league because all those young guys had to go down and play. Yeah. The European guys were over there playing, so it was a really good league. And so they offered me an ATO, or actually a PTO. Went down, played to the PTO, and then I was unrestricted. I was kind of restricted due to they have 4 years to sign you to entry level contract. And so we had a good run, lost to, I think, Philly in the conference finals. But, playing with Bergie, Brad Boys, young Milan Jersina. So we had a pretty good team down there. And then signed with the Bruins that summer.
Oh, very cool. That's a pretty great story. You think about it. You couldn't make your high school team. And all of a sudden you're an All-American at Boston College and then you sign a pro contract. Just read a book. Yeah,
I mean, I think everybody can look back at some point and say, hey, there's kind of like there's a point in your life when you said either, as I like to call it, your favorite failure, right? Where you fail and you learn a hard lesson, and you either, build yourself up, stand up and get after it, or you kind of just fade away, right? So
totally. So how was you? So you've gotten used to Boston from like being a BC. So playing for the Bruins at this point, did you enjoy that?
Oh, it was unbelievable, right? So like boys would come down to the games, go out and have a couple adult beverages afterwards. But it was great playing. Played for BC for 4 years, and now I play the Bruins. Like, it was a pretty cool step, right? And like I said earlier, it's like we didn't have a lot of success coming out of the lockout. The Bruins had cleared a lot of cap space. They signed a lot of older guys, and the league changed. The rules changed. The obstruction changed. The speed of the game changed. The skill level. And so those older guys couldn't keep up. And so we had some injuries, and they wanted to bring up some young guys. And so made the opening day roster, which is pretty cool. And then I was in out of the lineup for the first 2-3 weeks. Joe Thornton got traded, which is an absolute debacle.
Who'd they get for him?
They got Marco Sturm, Wayne Primo, and Brad Stewart.
That's right.
So
Burns is a legend, yeah. Did you see Joe come up on stage at the draft with the beard and everything?
I saw a picture. Yeah. Joe was a great dude. He was awesome. He was great to me as a young guy. Yeah. Organization obviously didn't think they could win with him. But he was always good to the young guys. Provided a great atmosphere for young guys to come up in. So Joe was always good to me. So Joe got traded. I got sent down for a week and then came back up, and I was up the rest of my career. But it was like I said, it's a lot of it is luck and being healthy, right? So if you're in a position where your team's not very good, they're going to play the young guys, and you're going to get time, you're going to get experience. And from that year, the next year we signed Zdeno Chara, and I'm like, this is great. Like, Z's coming in. Yeah. And prior to training camp, we're skating, and he's like, Albie, I want to play with you. I'm like, sweet, like, let's do it. So I played with Z for a couple of years.
Big Z came to you and said he wanted to play with you?
He said, well, I played with Chris Phillips, right? And up in Ottawa. He's like, I'm looking for like a stay-at-home physical type guy. And I'm a young guy. This is only my second year in the league. I'm like, sweet, like, let's do it. So I played with Z for almost 2 years, and couldn't learn so much from the guy. We weren't a very good team, but playing against top lines, you learn a lot real fast, and what your responsibilities are. And it is very cool to learn from him, experience stuff from him. And so that was great. And then ran into some concussion issues the end of that year, into the next one, and then got traded to Philly my fourth year.
Did you see that trade coming?
Yeah. So I had gotten hit in November, and I was out all the way till playoffs. And even then, like Tom, like you want to play, right?
Yeah.
And the docs were kind of like, wow, I think you're good. And like, concussions were different. Like, until Crosby got his concussion, it just wasn't the same. The treatment wasn't the same. The thought about it wasn't the same. There was more of a focal point put on it, a microscope put on it when Crosby got his concussion. So it became more of an issue, at the head of everybody's, thought of anything hits ahead. So at that point, it's like, I want to go play. And so played in the playoffs. We lost to Montreal in the first round, and that summer I was still having issues moving forward. And so I went into camp not healthy, but they just not chalked it up as headaches, head pressure, not related to concussion. And so I'm still going through camp dealing with these symptoms. And they're like, I don't think I didn't make the lineup, to start the season. And so they traded me because Mark Stewart was coming out as well. He's a first round pick. So, really good player. So got traded to Philly, and I was actually kind of really happy about it. Just get a fresh start somewhere else.
Who was coaching in Philly at that time?
John Stevens. He was awesome. Loved it.
Yeah, I've heard good stuff about him. Yeah,
he's like, and this is my first experience besides college of a coach caring about you off the ice as well as on the ice.
Right.
Where you'd walk into the rink, you'd be like, "LB, come on in the office," and I'd be like, "Oh shit."
Yeah.
He's like, "No, I just want to see how your weekend was. I know we didn't have a game. Like, so what'd you do?" And I'm like,
"That's good."
Nothing.
I think that's fantastic coaching, though, right?
Oh, it's great. Yeah, because then it's like they know you as a person instead of just like a number that they could just kick in the ass and say get on the ice and do a job for me.
And don't you think too, like at some points he's going to have to sit you down or bench you or yell at you or whatever, but you know that he cares about you and he's doing it because he cares about you. It's not because he's just being a jerk.
Well, exactly. And for a coach to sit down and be like, "Hey, what motivates you? Like, do you want me yelling at you, or can we sit down and say, hey, like let's try something else the next time the situation arises, right? Like that's getting to know your player and how to motivate them because we're all pulling the rope the same direction, right? Like, what's the best way to motivate these guys?"
No, I was going to ask you about Char, just because I want people to hear like how legendary he really was, because those, he's obviously a legend, but these stories of him are he's the strongest guy, he's the smartest guy. Like, can you talk about him a little bit, as a person to you?
Yeah, I think Z came in at a tough time. Like Boston Bruins, we had Joe as our leader, and then Joe was gone, right? And this ship was kind of sinking, right? We were going in the wrong direction after that lockout. They had planned differently prior to the lockout with all these contracts that were going to expire in 05-06, thinking that they were going to tap that unrestricted free agency market once the new season began. And they did. But like I said, like they brought in all these older guys, like no offense to these guys, but like the speed of the game picked up dramatically. The obstruction was gone. Like it's a different NHL. Like that's just what it was. And so with Z coming in, came in an organization that was in need of some desperate direction and leadership, and he was a great guy to do it because he didn't pick to go to Washington or somewhere else that was a powerhouse back then with Ovechkin coming up or Crosby, right? Like Pittsburgh, like he wanted to go to like a team that was in the bottom, that needed to grow around him, and he could create that culture. And so he picked Boston. We were not very good, but we had some young core players with Berge and Boise. And so he kind of just said, "Hey boys, like get on my back. I'm going to change things around here, whether it was the way we're working out, the way we're traveling, the food we're eating after games, the food that's before games, the food on the plane. All these things were all changed when Z came in. He saw what was going on. He's like, this is not the way we're doing it."
And sorry, who was coaching at this time?
So I don't know. I had 9 different coaches my first 9 years. I had Sullivan started my first year, and then Dave Lewis came in my second year. So Dave was there when Z came in.
Okay. See, the reason I asked though too is like, so for him to kind of, and I know he's not pushing the coach aside, but to take on all that role to decide,
he's taking over. Yeah, he's taking over.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you guys know Dave Lewis, but like Dave's a great guy. I loved him as a coach. He was very laid back, players coach, but he didn't have that like. He didn't rule with iron fist, right? He didn't have that hammer, so he was more buddy because he was a great assistant in Detroit forever, right, winning the cups. But when he came to Boston, it didn't have that heavy impact. He's
a nice guy. He's just a very nice guy,
awesome guy, yeah. And so Z, I think, just said, "Hey, they gave him free will. I'm going to change this, this, and this." And so Z just kind of took it and ran and said, "Hey, this is going to be first class. We're going to be the hardest working team." And so, like, that started to catch on as a culture, right? And Berge followed in line, right? And Berge was a leader himself. Like,
I love Berge. He's unbelievable.
Yeah, Berge's a great guy on and off the ice, great human being. But Berge didn't say much, and he just went out there and got it done. So you had Z that's talking, and Z physical as well, and doing it the right way. But Berge just went about his business. And so we had 2 great leaders. And then my third year there, they got rid of Dave Lewis. They brought in Claude Julien, who brought much more structure, a bigger voice, kind of my way or the highway right away, with his box and one and his structure system. which was good because now we have a structure to play off of, right? And we're all on the same page. So that was kind of a step forward for us. But if I think back of like kind of the one thing that Z did to kind of open everybody's eyes is the first training camp we had. And I don't know if you guys have heard the story about the pull-up story. Have you guys heard this one?
Yeah, okay. I have heard it. Yeah.
Okay.
This is insane, Tom.
It is. So training camp, everybody is testing, right? So we have the sprint test, the long jump, the body weights, jump to, or whatever it is, the bench press test, and then we have a pull-up test. For the pull-up test, we had a strength coach named John Whitesides. He had big, dark, deep voice. He's typical strength coach guy. He's like, you got to lock out your arms every time you go up and down. And so he's standing right there, and Z's up, and everybody's gotten like 12, 13, 15 pull-ups, and they're feeling pretty good about themselves. It's average for the last couple of years. So Z like gives him one of these and pulls his shirt off, and like, muscles are bulging out everywhere, right? And so they raise the bar way up for Z, and he gets up there and he's hanging, and he's like, goes up, down, and he's like 1, up, down, 2, 3, and so they're counting him out, and he gets to like 15 or 16, and you guys are like, is he gonna just keep going here? 23, 24, 25. And we're like, are you kidding me? And like, I'm looking around. I remember looking around specifically just to see what's going on. Everybody had like dropped the weights. The bikes had stopped. People are just like in awe watching this guy go up and down. And you can imagine the long levers of this.
This guy, he's a big man, too. That's a lot of weight. Yeah.
So he gets to like 30 and he's like dead. And we're like, he's got to be done at 30, right? And he's like, he just finds it and just gets up there. 31, 32. 33, so he racked off 33 pull-ups, and he drops down, and guy, like you can hear a pin drop in this place.
Yeah,
and it was just like, holy shit! Like that just set the bar of what is going to be expected of us from now on. Like,
that's a cool story.
And the best part is like he didn't have to say a word. He just did them, turned around, and like walked out, and he was like, okay, like the bar's been set, and so. Everybody knew that he's the man, and that's we're gonna do whatever he says, and he set the tone for everything.
It's obvious he really knew what he was doing, right? Like taking the shirt.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, and like we're all like putting our shirts back on, right? No, it's but it was cool because Z's the nice guy off the ice too, right? Yeah. Like he wants you to do as good as the next guy, right? Like he wants you to be as good as him, so he's pushing you to be as good as him. So he's just trying to drag everybody with.
I saw a great interview with him, and I can't remember how they brought up, but you talk about how the treatment of rookie players. You know, there's hazing way back when, and there's the rookie meals and everything. He said, no way. You're on the team. You're on the team. It doesn't matter the first year or 20th year. And I really thought that was cool. Like, that's really breaking away from tradition in the National Hockey League and saying, no, this is the way the Bruins are done a different way.
Well, I think that speaks to the culture, though. You know, with and I always put Bergie with Z, right? Because they're two great leaders, and I think they work together. But you know, from my time in Van, just speaking on experiences, like you would see young guys come up, and it used to be like you'd walk into the room and you wouldn't say like, you know this, Tom. Yeah. You'd walk in, you wouldn't say a word. You'd hide in the corner, right?
Yeah, sure.
And then you'd have to earn your respect.
Yep.
And now the young guys are coming up, walking in like, you know, peacocking, got their chest out, saying, "Respect me," right?
Right.
And so that's we see in Van, and you knock him down, like, hey, like a rookie, go get the pucks, like get the corn, like go get me a drink, that sort of thing, right? But I think in Boston it was more like, hey, like this is our culture. You're gonna fall in line, and if you don't, we'll ship you out of here so fast. And so I think it was kind of like the GM, the head coach, and the players were all in great alignment and how that was supposed to be.
That's cool.
And so, but no, it's very different, and I think you have to look at the culture to see, how they run the room, how it works.
So fast forward, how many years were you in Philly then?
I was in Philly just for a year, and then I wanted to resign. I was going to resign, and then they traded for Prongs the same day I was going to sign, and they're like, "Oh, sorry." Oh, like, oh, that's actually a pretty good upgrade. Good luck,
So you were a free agent at that point?
So I was a free agent, and that was a tough year. The league actually was. I think the cap was pretty close to flat, and then guys are searching for places to play. So I ended up signing Carolina on a 2-year deal, which I was excited because I think they lost the conference finals a year prior. Paul Maurice was coach. We had a good veteran lineup. Rod the Botter's there with a young Eric Stahl, Cam Ward, a lot of good young players. But we came out of the gate flat. And I think we went like 2-12-2 or something to start the year. And at that point, like, you're already behind the 8 ball. And I didn't really see eye to eye with our assistant coach, Tom Rowe.
Yeah, he's a different guy.
Like I'm pretty easy to get along with. Yeah. He just had nothing really good to say about me. It just kind of went sour. So then I got the deadline, I got traded to Van, and I was beyond pumped. So, and then I was in Van for 5 years. So we had a lot of success there.
Yeah, Tom. And there's one thing too is now obviously the highlight of your career is Game 7. How bittersweet is that for you to watch Chara and the Bruins lift the cup while you guys are so close?
Oh, that's right. So you played, that's with Vancouver when he went to get 7. Oh, wow. That's right.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's never easy to think about that and to go through that. I've gotten to the point now where it's like you realize how far you've gone and how hard it is and what you went through, not just yourself, but with your teammates and your family and your wife or girlfriend at the time, and what they went through for everybody to go there, like the sacrifices everybody makes. And like every year, we just saw Florida race a couple, like in your head, you're living that, right? You're like, holy shit, I remember this 2.5 month run of like, it's hockey day off. And like, we're just focused on the hockey. And I start to think about like, all right, well, what are the wives and families going through? I mean, it's a lot for everybody. So, I mean, I don't know. Like, I guess you're happy for, some of your friends to win it, but I mean, it still burns inside.
You get that close too, right? To get to Game 7.
Game 7, right? We had a chance to win a Game 6, and I think we came in way too tight and too nervous, and we didn't play our game. And then you're back in Van for Game 7. It's a coin flip, right? So we just didn't get it done.
What about all the fans in Vancouver? Didn't they riot in the streets or something, like burning cars and everything?
Yeah, they did, but it wasn't. It was more of like if you go back and look at what really happened, it was a group from outside Vancouver that came in, and we were going to do it, win or lose. They were going to do it. It all started, and I think it's everybody saw what was happening, and it just gets to be kind of like too much, and everybody jumps in, and so it got very big. But it started with groups that were from outside Vancouver that came in that were going to do it, win or lose.
Yeah. Andrew, I wanted to ask you, we just saw Game 7, as you mentioned. What is it like the day of Game 7 Stanley Cup? Like, what the hell is going through your mind? How do you calm your thoughts?
A lot of melatonin the night before. You know what? Like, it's like everything is coming to a head, as you mentioned, right? It's just like, is there momentum from Game 6 going into Game 7? What happened in Game 6 that we're going to fix for Game 7, whether it's a tweak on the power play or the neutral zone entries or whatever it might be, right? Something small to give you the edge for that next game. But I remember couldn't sleep, obviously, just like emotions going through your head. And for me, it's more about visualization of just running through plays, scenarios like that. That's just like kind of what I did to get myself ready. And so usually that starts at the arena at 4 o'clock or 4:30 when you get there, but started at 1:15 when I'm laying in bed, can't sleep. So then you go down early, you get a coffee, you try to relax, keep your mind busy of doing stuff, right? But that just comes to like, all right, we're preparing to accomplish the goal we've had since you're a 7-year-old, right? Playing out another Game 7, shootout, wherever it might be, out in the pond, right? And so you try to prepare the same way, but it's just like, it's literally live and die every shift. And that was kind of a hard thing for us, where we got behind the 8 ball with a couple goals, and we didn't have any pushback. We can push back. We had nothing. So that was the frustrating part. But like I said, I still take a lot out of that series, a lot out of that game, because it was real neat to be a part of it. As much as I wanted to win, it still hurts. But like I said, you just got to take some positives out of it at some point and have some good memories.
Yeah, it's interesting you touched on that, like following your process. So a lot of people think, you're going into Game 7, you got to do things differently, right? You got to change things. And really the opposite is true. You got to stick with your process. And that really calms you down, I think, and thinks, okay, I'm going to do the same thing that I've done Game 1 in the National Hockey League to now what I'm doing in Game 7. And some people get amazed by that, going, no, you can't. But that really is really important, I think, too.
Yeah, I think it's all about making small adjustments within your game, which I think it's like you do throughout your career, right? Like you have to adapt to what is happening within the game, and you want to survive. Like you want to keep playing, you want a new contract, you want more minutes. So you have to keep making little adjustments, but you don't go outside you stay in your lane, more or less, like you're saying. You go through your process, and of course, small things are going to happen left or right. But you stick with your process of what got you there.
So you got how many years in Vancouver? 5 years then?
Yeah, 5 years in Van.
Then what happens after that?
So I had to retire due to concussion. So I got hit 2013, late December. I got hit and just tore all ligaments in my neck, and bad concussion, headaches, head pressure, unable to raise my heart rate without having severe symptoms. And so
was that McGrattan that hit you? Was that one?
Yeah. Okay. And was never able to come back. I tried that summer. Had really bad symptoms, and then still dealing with some stuff today. But you're always trying to fix things. The last 10 years has been a long time. But yeah, I never been able to make it back.
So you still have symptoms today?
Yeah, still dealing with stuff today. Yeah.
Are you able to have stuff like medical procedures to deal with it or anything? Or?
I work with actually the top doctor over at Mass General Hospital out here, which is great because he's provided a great source for me to get what I need. But it's hard to look back and think that once like that's really altered the course of your life, right?
Right. But you had like a couple of concussions too during your career.
Yeah, I had the one in Boston that I mentioned, and then a small one in Carolina. But this one is just total TBI. Right. So,
well, has he ever reached out to you, McGrattan?
No, never heard a thing.
That's too bad. I was very fortunate. So we played against the Islanders all the time, and Bob Nation was a big tough guy.
Yeah,
and he's the kind of guy that if you were hitting too many guys, he was going to come and get you late in the game, especially if you're up a goal or down a goal.
Sure.
And it was a playoff game, and I was hitting quite a few guys, and I should have known he was coming. It was like a minute and a half ago in the game. We're up a couple of goals, and he just smoked me. And I ended up having to go to the hospital. I skated off the ice all right, but then in the locker room, I passed out. They took me to the hospital. And he was pretty cool. He called me. He wasn't afraid of me at all. He wasn't afraid of anybody. So he wasn't doing it like apologize to. I would go after him. He was more like legitimately concerned about me. And he called me for the next game. And then the series was done, and we shaking hands and everything. He pulled me aside and apologized again. I thought that was a really class act. So maybe regret.
Well, hard not to know on this day, Nate.
Yeah. No kidding.
Just on a more positive note, you played with some characters in Vancouver and some Hall of Famers. So you played with the Twins, but you also played with the only goalie captain in like the last 100 years. Talk about Luongo, because he's legendary character as well.
Lou's a beauty, man. And you know what's great is like his Twitter account is kind of let the public know what he's like without really knowing him, right? Like he sent us hysterical tweets, especially back when we were playing and nobody knew who Strombo was, right?
Yeah.
But Lou's an animal. Like he's got like the biggest hands you've ever seen. He's got the biggest feet. He's 6'4", like a $165, right? But just wiry and goofy, but like great one great person, and two great goaltender, right? And so, he was. Is he the only goalie captain? He's not the only.
And I think in the last 80 years, only goalie captain.
But no, Lou's a beauty. He's a lot funnier than people give him credit for. But like salt-earth guy, like down-to-earth guy, like loves his teammates. And I think in Vancouver, in Canada, anywhere, you can really get a bad rap sometimes if you don't give the time and effort to the media. But like, Lou's a favorite in Van, a favorite in the locker room with all the guys. So I got nothing but good things to say about him.
Isn't he coaching down in Florida now? Like his goalie coach down there?
I don't know if he's goalie. I think he's like special counselor.
He's an advisor
To the GM or whatnot. But he's got family down there. His wife's family's from down there, so that's why he wanted the trade down there.
Right.
Ended up working.
Didn't they have a video of him out at a restaurant where they're putting pasta in the Stanley Cup? Yeah.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
He's one of those rare guys, though, Tom, in hockey that no one has a bad word to say about.
Yeah, I know.
Across the board.
You know, a guy I get a kick out of was Kevin Bieksa there.
Juice? Oh, man. Juice has got an answer for everybody, right? And he's the same guy. He's like, I go to Van for a year and I go back, and all my buddies are like, is Kess and Juice, are they assholes? And I'm like, no, like they're actually like the best guys. Like they're the guys like you hate to play against.
Sure.
And you want to be one of those guys, right? You want to like get the other team going. So the guys you hate to play against, but the guys you love having on your team.
How about he does the flying punch there a few times? He flies through the air and punches the guy.
He is pound for pound. That guy he was one of the toughest in the league. Yeah. Tough guy. But awesome dude.
He does a good job on TV too. He's pretty good at TV.
Great job. Great insight and like great stories, right? But he's the guy that's like, all right, we're on the road. Hey, every dinner at 6 p.m. on me. Let's go if you want to go. Every time, those guys that want to bring the team together. The same thing, like the twins are the same way. Like Hank and Danny, awesome guys. Probably the nicest human beings I ever met. Same thing. Like you never pay for a meal. They invite you anywhere, wherever it might be. It was always team first with that group, and that was so cool about those two teams that we had won the President's Cup and went to the finals. There's maybe a little click here or there, but like most of the time we always did everything together. Which is pretty cool.
Okay, so I'm going to put you on the spot. Burroughs. Is he
there you go.
And there's another guy, like another beauty, like just awesome guy.
Oh, okay. When you watched him play, you didn't like him at all, yeah.
Oh, you hated it? Like I remember playing against him. I'm like, I just want to grab this guy and just beat him, right? Yeah. But like smart, tough though too, right? Like he would get in the scrums, he'd go in the corners, he would go to the dirty spots, he'd take a beating, right? And then he'll end up smiling, draw a penalty, then they're going to score on the power play. That was the game, right? And they played it to a T.
So you had to retire that. So you finished in Vancouver. That was Game 7 was your last pro game then?
No. So that next year, I played 2 years after that Game 7. So 2013 is when I got hit. So that 13-14 season was my last year.
Good. And now, obviously, you were married at that time?
I had gotten married in 2012. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And she's the Boston girl.
She's the Boston girl. Yeah. Kelly. She's great. So.
Tom can't relate to this though because he's got 2 divorces.
You've never been divorced?
No.
So we've done over 100 shows, and probably the divorce rate is at least 90%.
No, it's pretty high. It's probably 80%. Yeah, legitimately. Yeah, it's really high.
Particularly the elder guys, I think, though, too, right? And sometimes multiple divorces too.
Really? Yeah. You dinosaurs are definitely not great in the wife department.
We're doing that.
We were just like, we were muttheads. Like Tom laughs at me, but it's just no other saying it. Like you talked before, especially during the playoffs, you're so wrapped up in the game. Like you can't focus on anything else but the game. We were like that all the time. We were paying attention to anything we did in our social life or personal life. So then we get, the game would be over, and then we'd look at each other, the husband and wife look at each other and go, who are you? Yes. It's true. It's like my first wife, I got married when I was playing. It's not her fault, but we literally looked at each other after 3 or 4 years of retirement. And we're like, I don't like you at all. We couldn't sit in the room together.
Well, I'm lucky. I got a good one, and we got 3 kids. So
nice, good.
Are your kids playing? Do they play hockey now?
Yeah. I got a 10-year-old Jackson, so he'll be a first-year PV this year, and then I got a 6-year-old May's 8th, so she'll be a mite, and then my little one is 6, Kai. She's just starting to rip around a little bit. So
good. Girls hockey is good now too, right?
Oh, it's the number 1 girl sport in America right now.
Yeah, girls hockey is great.
And you know what's great about the girls is like you tell them to do something and they do it.
They listen. Yeah,
the boys are just whacking the puck against the boards, whacking each other, puck whack, and the girls are like, "Oh, you want me to go around the circle and make a move on that guy and score?" Okay, I'll do it.
I actually helped coach the girls' high school team here in Greenwich, Connecticut.
Nice.
See, I think first practice out there, I was helping this girl, and we got done. She goes, "Thank you, coach." And I looked at her like, "What? Like, what is that?" Like, no boy ever said thank you.
Oh, they're great to coach. Yeah, they're easy. It's the boys you got to deal with.
So, what are you doing work-wise? Anything at all?
Yeah, so a couple different things. Work with, I don't know if you guys are NHL Sense Arena, virtual reality hockey training.
No, I haven't heard of that.
So you guys know what Oculus is?
Yeah, of course.
Your Oculus. So we're just an app on the Oculus, and we have 5 NHL teams, I think like 16 NCAA teams, and then we're actually more of a bigger B2C market, to the consumers out there. But more or less, we have a hockey vision simulator, and you can get more puck touches, see more pucks for goalies. So you could be in your house training, getting pro tips from myself for the players and pro tips from NHLers and whatnot from on the goalie side. So it's pretty cool where the technology can go to create a trained device. And so it's blown up in the last couple of years, and so.
And let me ask you about that a little bit though, because I, as a coach and as father of a 9-year-old who's crazy about his Oculus, I mean, this is like a great tool, and it's something I hadn't really heard.
Well, I can interrupt though. I don't know what that is.
It's a virtual reality headset you put on, and it's like Tom. I'll bring it by you, and I'll give you.
So I see people with the white thing on there.
Yes,
that's it. Yeah,
it's very trippy. The first few times you try it out, it's definitely different. It's different augmented reality or virtual reality, but it's pretty cool. My son loves it for the games, but not for hockey. And how maybe you talk a little more in depth of how someone could use that as a teaching tool.
Sure, absolutely. So I'll speak to the goalie part first. So you're fully immersed. So you're on the ice or you're in the locker room, wherever you are. So you're in the locker room, you pick whatever drill setting you want to go to. You're on the ice. And so when you look around, you see a rink, you see screaming fans, or on our outdoor rink, Lake Tahoe, you feel like you're out at Lake Tahoe. So the sounds of the puck off the boards, the sound of the puck off the pads, the scraping of the ice, like you hear all that. We're trying to make it as lifelike as possible, right? And so now for goaltenders, it's all about reading the release of this shot. So you're reading the puck off the blade, you're reading the angle of the shoulders, you're reading the angle of the arms. Is that stick being pulled in to change the angle of the shot? All these different things. And we have HD video drills. So we'll have an HD camera that films all these NHL guys or PHF women. So you're watching an HD video morph into a VR headset, into the 3D into the headset. So you're actually seeing a video of a real shooter. We also have AI simulations, but the goalies really love the video drills of the NHL shooters and the USA team, national team shooters, because it's real people shooting at you. So there's no wear and tear on the body because it's all virtual reality. You're not going down. We don't want goalies to just drop on every shot. We want you to actually read the release and where the puck's going. So that is just more reps. In hockey, it's about reps, right? The more reps you see, the more I understand patterns of the game and read the releases. And then for players, it's the same type of thing. It's just more puck touches. So you go into a practice and you guys are doing 3-on-3 in the corner. Well, how many reps do you get as a player when a team's doing it? Maybe 2 or 3 for practice. Well, now you can hop in a Sense Arena and work on your shoulder checks and reading the play and look at the guy's stick blade to see where you should make a move. Whatever it might be, scanning the ice before you get the puck to know where you're going to go with it for your next pass, for neutral zone transition, stuff like that. So we have about 40 drills for each platform, and it's just about getting the puck touches and more reps for kids to learn to understand to play with their head up, scan the ice and find and make a read and make a play.
So you do this from home if you have the equipment?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's where you do it from home. Yeah.
No, is it individuals, teams, or both?
So we've got both, yeah. So we've got NHL teams. They use it. Most of our NHL teams, they use it for rehab. So guys that can't get on the ice, they can stay sharp mentally or just do the cognitive.
So NHL teams are using this right now for players that are injured. Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that stuff. That's unbelievable. Wow.
Yeah. So and then for young kids, it's all about getting the edge, right? Like, what can you do better by yourself to continue to push your development to be better than the guy across from you? You know.
And what's the name of the company again?
It's called NHL Sense Arena.
NHL. So are you tied in with the NHL?
Yeah, so we partnered with the NHL, almost 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. And so they love it because it's bringing fans that can't always get to the building to experience what hockey's like.
Wow.
And so we've got some pretty cool initiatives coming up.
That's unbelievable. I didn't know that stuff existed yet. So where can people find you then?
We're just on the Oculus store. Just type in NHL Sense Arena or go to NHLSenseArena.com.
Very cool. You're a smart dude.
Thanks. Oh, it can see you. Okay.
It's an Eagle. He's not a Northern Michigan Wild.
I went to Northern Michigan. We call that the Harvard of the Midwest.
Tom, you took bowling in college. Come on.
Oh, I know. Bowling, beginning skating. My senior year, we're ranked number 1 in the country at the time, and I was failing a business class. So I had to drop that business class to take 4 one-credit classes. Phys ed, racquetball, bowling. Now, remember, I'm the captain of the number 1 ranked team in the country. I took beginning skating my senior year.
So that's smart, though. That's smart.
Okay, yeah. Sure. I need to work on my skating. There's no question about that. Definitely. Well, listen, I'm glad you're doing well. Unfortunately, you have to suffer with the little bit of the concussion issues, but it sounds like you're still doing well. You got a fantastic family there. Had a great career. Really, it's a great story. You should contemplate writing a book, going from where you couldn't even make the high school team and now, playing in the National Hockey League all the time. So great job by you. Thank you very much for coming on the show. It's great to meet you.
No, thanks for having me. I appreciate it, guys.
That's an interesting story. I didn't know he got through it like that.
Yeah.
He mentioned when I said that. That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy story. Like, he overcame 2 things in his life, it seems like, Tom, getting cut from his varsity hockey high school team to getting to the NHL. And then, these concussions, and now he's got this Sense Arena business that is you don't know about VR, and I got to show you one day because Thomas plays it all the time. It's this big goggly headset. And you're in this different world. So if you're watching him, you see someone who's just like gesticulating wildly and flapping their arms, but they're in this little world, like doing these activities, whether it's like lightsabers or.
So have you tried it?
Once, twice, and it's not for me, but
it's obviously very realistic, though.
incredibly, and it's weird. It's just it's very trippy because you're inside this like world, and it's very odd. But yeah, I'll give it a try. We'll bring it up one day. It's pretty cool.
That's very cool. Yeah, I've seen people doing that on reels, videos, and all that kind of stuff.
But you look so stupid from the outside because you're just like waving your arms around. But no, it's really he swears by it. Like we have to limit his time. It's so immersive and so
right.
Like
he doesn't use it for hockey at this point. It's just...
He has not yet. No. But it's something. It probably work for any sport too, baseball, because you're doing the motions.
Yeah.
You're.
So but Oculus is the name of the company.
Yeah. Oculus is the device and the company name, and you put it on, and you just see it's a 360 immersive world, and it's pretty cool. And it makes perfect sense that you could use it for hockey, and why not? You have a stick in your hands, and you're going through the motions, and you're getting your practice in. So I'll check that out. NHL Sens Arena. Andrew Alberts is a big part of that. Yeah. And great career. Came up, played with Chara. Spoke about how great Chara was as a leader. You love that stuff. I know you love Chara.
Oh, yeah. Well, and Andrew was really an impressive kid. Like I asked him at one point there about how intelligent he was, and he kind of downplayed it or whatever, but he is an intelligent man too.
Smart guy, well spoken. He's got a good post career going, and stayed in Boston though. Stayed up in
really very every story for kids to hear what he went through. How people were like didn't one coach tell him his career is over with?
Yeah, you're done. You're done. He went. Well, what's incredible is he got cut from high school and went and played house hockey as a sophomore, which is crazy.
Just to go stick with it that way, right? Like to still stay with your dream. Yeah,
absolutely. From didn't make the Minnesota. Minnesota's got great high school hockey, but still, this is a guy who played in the NHL. And 500 games in the NHL. This is he's playing house league as a sophomore. House league, that's crazy.
And to make it to the National Hockey League from there.
So there you go. So that's a good lesson for kids: is don't give up, man. Absolutely. Keep going. So yeah, great to have him on. Andrew Alberts. Yeah,
great show. All right, Grasshoppers. Thank you for listening. We had a fantastic show. We'll see you next time.